Okay, guys. Hi, how are you? All right, so today is the 3rd of May. I don't know if y'all feel this way, but I can't believe May is here. Um, this was just last week with Pam and Dina. We did our little our workout with Chris, which we'll talk about in a minute. But tonight, what I'm mostly fired up about is we're going to talk about the 12-week year. And just out of curiosity, if you've read it or if you are in the middle of reading it, can you raise your hand? Heidi? And I can't see anyone else. And for some reason, when I'm on Zoom, my mouse doesn't work. This is nuts. Okay, so let's see who else has read it. Heidi is reading it. Okay, good. So I'm dealing with everyone who's not read it. So this is going to be some good material for you guys. So it's a lot. So definitely take notes, but I think that you're going to get something out of it for sure. Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Okay, so we're going to go through our announcements first, and then we're going to get into the 12-week year, which is really going to be talking about how this is my main goal. I want to help you guys when you sit down to do your Beachbody coaching work, whether it's a 15-minute block or a 30-minute block or an hour block or a 3-hour block on a Saturday morning. My goal is that you have some tools when this call is over to get more productivity out of that time. Because I think we can all agree that's one thing that none of us have enough of is time, right? So if you can sit down and really be like, damn, I just knocked out a ton in 20 minutes and feel good about that. Again, it's like the snowball effect, the compound effect. Darren Hardy's going to talk to us about it at Summit. It will continue to snowball into your business and just get you excited. It's amazing what that can do when you have that kind of productivity. So that's my goal. So with that being said, we're going to move right on to our announcements. We don't want to rush through them, but we've got a lot. There's been a lot of awesome stuff going on. First and foremost, I want to congratulate Melissa Hawk and Irene, who's not able to be on the call tonight. They just finished Getting Started Right. So did Stacy, and so did Jennifer and Emily. And so I don't know if any of the personally sponsored coaches, Dina or Juliet, I know Amy's not on the call, so maybe Dina wants to talk a little bit about Stacy, just about how these guys did such a great job balancing life with this training. Anybody want to take a stab at it?
I'll talk about Emily real quick. I'm so excited to have her. It was years ago when I first started soccer coaching. She was on my freshman team, and she was just one of those players that stood out to me as like mature and loving, and she was compassionate as like a 14-year-old girl, you know? So we had that common bond, and it took me, I think, 8 months to get her to sign up for a challenge. And I just, every 3 months, just, picked at her and said, I really think you'd like this, or like, how's that vegan paleo diet going that you're doing? And finally she joined and she killed it. Her first challenge, she sent me like progress pics at 11 days, I think. And there was such a big difference. And so right away she was like, I'm ready to coach, but I'm really busy. I have 3 jobs and I'm finishing nursing school. And I was like, okay. She's like, but I just really want to do it. And so literally she's finishing up her last semester of nursing school currently. She did this training and she hit Success Club 10. So I was just like, okay, you're one of those rock stars I need in my life and on my team to motivate me at your young age of, God, she's probably maybe 23 now. So I love her work ethic. I love her passion, and I'm motivated by her now. So super excited to have her.
Oh, amazing.
I have a coach who just finished nursing school as well. So we should get them together.
Oh, so fun. Love it.
Same age.
Perfect.
So I can talk about Stacy and Jen, actually, because we just finished a challenge group, and I've been, talking with Stacy because of Amy, and we've been kind of training these two together at the same time.
Great.
And I know there might be another picture, because I know we had another picture maybe coming in the next slide, but they are just, Jen was, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. She was not on social media. Either was Stacy, and they both have a passion to help people. They bring joy to everything they do. They have a lot of knowledge in stuff just from life. And it's been a pleasure to see. And it's just been so exciting to watch them both really grow. I think there's another slide, so I'm going to save it for that next slide for the other stuff I'm going to say, but it's been really fun to see them together learn and just get to the point where they are.
Awesome, you guys. And I'm just going to touch base. Melissa is still a challenger. She's going to probably start coaching in the next month or so. There's some stuff that we're going to work together through in our next group. But Irene, I know this name is not uncommon to anybody. If you've seen her over the past 2 months, she has just come in like a hurricane, but a very strategic hurricane. There's nothing that's been messy about her destruction. She's got strategy. She's got focus. I've been corresponding with her on Facebook for over a year, and then she showed up in our insanity class that Juliet and I teach, and she's just intense with her workouts too. So she's definitely one to watch. She's got a strong why, and she's very convicted with being able to help people. And she's lost 30 pounds on her own since January. Not on her own, but with our program. So she's definitely been working on herself too. So pretty excited.
Tracy, what's been so amazing about that is like, I've seen other people face to face go through the transformation, but because she's in our class and just to see her energy level every week, and now she's like on fire, and it's been so cool to watch that transformation in person week to week to week to week.
I agree.
It's been amazing.
I agree. It's been one of the biggest blessings of teaching fitness class.
100%.
Okay. Heidi, floor is yours.
Okay, there we go. So yes, actually both of them completed Getting Started Right, maybe a month ago or so. And actually Stephanie is under Katie. So their spouses, I actually hired in my last job. So it's kind of cool. I worked with their spouses and now I get to work with them in coaching. But Katie just graduated from nursing school this past year and works nights, 12-hour night shifts. Every week it's a different schedule. It's crazy. Can you imagine your sleep schedule like changing every single week? It's never the same days. She never knows when she's going to work. And yet she made this work and prioritized getting the training done. They were so on top of it. Both of them worked as a team. And Steph, same. She has a lot going on. She's planning a wedding, selling her house, moving into a new house, and is a full-time teacher, special education teacher. So anyway, they worked great together, and I'm just so proud of them that they both, said they were going to do it and finished it and did really well.
So awesome. And your template looks great too. I love your certificates.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, so Irene Emerald, I've talked about her. I think she actually was recognized on the last Zoom call. So she is Russian. That was one of her posts. I'm a Russian woman, which is awesome. She's so proud of her background. But I think she's got already like 5 or 6 coaches as part of her growing team. So that's pretty exciting.
And Steph actually hit Emerald the last day of the month and hit Success Club 6 actually. Literally, I think it was like an hour before the month closed. So she worked really hard, did a great job, again, was on vacation the same time we were, and still made it happen, still kind of crossed her T's and dotted her I's to make sure it all went through. And I'm really, really proud of her. So I can't wait to see what she does the next couple months.
That's awesome. Okay.
So Jen Pride, she was like, seeing all these new coaches, and she's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, why are you sorry? She's like, because I'm really not doing anything. And, I know that you have like such, everything. I'd be like, okay, do you want to do this? She's like, well, are you telling me I need to? And I was like, well, I want you to take it where you want to take it. And she hit Emerald and hit Success Club 6 in literally 3 weeks. And I was like, okay, you know what? Stop saying that you don't know what you're doing, because you do know what you're doing. But she literally has never been on any social media. So she's learning, she's like, I don't know how to tag. I don't know how to do this. And it's been really fun to watch her kind of succeed. And her personality is just, and Tracy knows her from class. She's just contagious. And I've known her. So we are Montgomery and her older daughter, or her only daughter, were in class together, and they became really, really close friends. And it was like so I've known her for 5-6 years, and she was never on social media. So I never asked her. And then she was in class and I started talking to her about this, and she was like, oh, I'll give it a try. I don't know. I'm getting remarried. My, wedding's in August. And she just she's contagious. Her personality is contagious. Her positive attitude is contagious. So Stacy and Jen and Amy and I just ran a group, and Stacy, I mean, she's one away from getting Emerald, hit Success Club 14, is pretty much a pro in Shakeology, taught us a lot of stuff. We were like, oh, okay. She's like, oh, you didn't know that? And I'm like, yeah, I did. No.
I sense a future Zoom call with her teaching us all about some new superfoods.
Yes, totally. So she just has a really amazing background in all of it. And so it's been awesome watching these two grow. And as I said, as a pair and learning from each other, and they both have pugs. It's just been really fun. So I'm super, super proud of them on the team learning from each other. So I think we're going to see big things from these two.
Awesome. Okay, so this past Thursday was, I think the first time ever that our team has had two coaches go diamond on the exact same day. And I'll talk to Alicia. Some of you guys that were at the leadership retreat know a little bit of Alicia's story, and that is that she basically was not told, she was told she wasn't allowed to coach. She's working full-time at the company that I used to work at, in the role that I used to be at, which is super demanding, 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks, sometimes like crazy work hours. And she was basically told that she wasn't allowed to be a coach. And she had hit like Success Club 20 that month and had all these coaches that wanted to upgrade, and she could not upgrade any of them. So we upgraded them all to the line. It's confusing, but she was able to get inherited volume on all the coaches, but those coaches didn't help her for rank at all. So she basically had to hit diamonds 2 times in order to officially become a diamond. So she's been working her tail off since this past fall when she joined. She was a challenger of mine when I first started almost 3 years ago, and then went dark for like 20 months, and then came back to a challenge group. And she was one of those I was scared to ask because she's just that good. And I was like, oh, I don't know if she's going to want to do this. And I'm so glad that I did, because she's just, she's sassy, she's fun, she's smart. She cares, she puts her head down. She just finished her first half marathon this weekend. And she's got big goals and big plans. So keep your eyes out on her.
I love those shoes too. I love that picture.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I know. I love that picture too. That's adorable. So I am so excited about Ashley. I was actually literally on the plane trying to get my Wi-Fi to work to see if her rank switched over to diamond. I could not wait. But most of you guys know that I didn't even know Ashley 6 months ago, and she lives 2 streets down from me, or around the corner from me. But she's one of those people that as soon as I met her, and you guys, I can't wait for you, the people are going to Summit, for you to meet her. Her personality is 100% contagious. Like, you just want to be around her as much as possible. And to be honest, it doesn't make much sense, because the amount that she really does every day with, obviously 6 boys from 2 to 16, almost 17 years old, 3 different schools. Her husband's gone Monday through Friday pretty much every week. And it's a lot. It's a lot. And she built a photography business from scratch by herself. Like, there was none of this team camaraderie 10 years ago, And so that's a very physically intensive job, which I never really knew until knowing her, how much goes into it. So to do that, and then to do this on top of it, and since the month she started coaching, she has pretty much hit Success Club 10 every month. There was 1 month she hit 8, but every other month she hit 10. And the words I would use to describe how she got to diamond are coachable. She's extremely coachable. And she takes action. So we all know what we're supposed to be doing every day, but this woman listens to what I say and then says, okay, I'll do it. And she doesn't put the fear in front of her. She's like, no, I'm just going to do it. And she does it in her own personality. She does it authentically. And she very much leads with her heart, is the best way to put it. And because of that, people sense it and they're attracted to her on social media and in person, either way. So I'm very proud of her. I mean, she broke her foot, if you guys saw, 2-3 weeks ago, and still found a way to do Body Beast on top of breaking her foot and still hitting that. It's insane. So she pushes me to be a better leader every single day. And those of you guys who've gotten to know her through Vox Chain of our Insanity Max 30 probably feel it or sense it too. But I think she's going to raise the bar. So definitely keep your eye out for her the next how many months we have left in the year? 7 months, 8 months?
Yeah, like 28 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just the beginning for her. So I'm really proud of you, Ashley, when you listen to the recording.
So great. Awesome job. Love it. Okay, so I had so much fun with this image with Juliet's head last night. But I wanted to just congratulate Juliet for having her name drawn. But I have to say, from a team standpoint, that contest was by far my most favorite. The vulnerability that so many people showed, the quality of posts that were out there on social media, it was amazing. And I know I speak for almost everybody because I haven't talked to one person who's like, oh my goodness, I was blown away by this or by that person. Just really good, heartfelt stuff that was out there that people who I felt like I knew really well, I actually got to know little tidbits about them that I didn't. So that was super enjoyable. But I do want to recognize Juliet because I've gotten to know her a lot better as I've been teaching insanity classes with her. But she basically from afar watched all of us go to Punta Cana, and she did not qualify for Punta Cana because she did not hit Success Club in the month of December. She hit Success Club for the 11 months prior, the 10 months prior, and December happened, and this, that, or whatever, she didn't hit it. And her attitude about it, I mean, that's hard to sit from the sidelines. Maybe she would have been able to go, maybe she wouldn't have. She's got a lot going on personally right now. But I just think when someone goes through it's kind of a tough time, we're kind of like, oh, that stinks. The way that they handle that adversity it just says a lot about their character. And she just has handled it so well and genuinely is like, I love seeing you guys have so much fun. And hey, you know what, that was a lesson learned. I now know I'm going to pick up and now I understand how important it is for Success Club. And I'm going to make sure all my coaches know how important it is to have that consistency. And just her attitude and the way that she handled something that could have been defeating, I feel like deserved recognition on this call. So I can't see anyone's face when the PowerPoint's up. So Juliet, you inspired me.
Thank you so much. That was I got a little tear. Not a little one. I'm teary. That was.
It's true. It's true.
I was so happy for you guys, and I didn't hit. I mean, I didn't earn it. So it's, it was a lesson learned, and you guys all kick butt, and it makes me proud to be a part of it. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was so happy for all of you.
Well, the way that you just handle it, your attitude is contagious, and you make other people positive around you. So thank you for that. Okay, so the contest for May, because of timing, and there's been a lot of announcements and recognition, which is awesome. I'm not going to go over all the rules for that contest are in the Poach page. So the winning book is here. I don't know if you can see this, but Brendon Burchard is one of the keynote speakers. I actually am about ready to start reading this. I'm super excited. And I actually just posted, that if you also win the May contest and you're also going to Summit, you will win the 4th VIP ticket. So elite coaches get VIP tickets for really cool stuff. And you probably haven't seen it yet because I literally hit post like right before I logged into the Zoom call. But I did want to recognize Heidi and Kira and Dina. And I got this idea when I got all my elite information for Summit. And I remember Kelly Hutchinson took me to the closing ceremony, my very first Summit. And I'm not kidding. I was like 3 rows back from the stage. And literally, I could like touch Tony Horton's shoes. I mean, it was such a different experience being that close. I felt like I was at the Oscars, where you just get to see it all and the pictures and the lights. And it was so cool to be up there and to really see up close like all these top 10 coaches that had literally taught me how to be a coach on YouTube when I was nursing baby May. And so when I got all my information, I was like, you know what? Let's go back to where this all started and where our vision was at the beginning of the year. And that was at that leadership retreat where there were 16 of us from the team. And we took a lot of that information back, but we had these goals that we set. And they were like big, hairy goals, like go live once a week and, host a coaching opportunity call, which is like one of the scariest things to do. And lots of people hit portions of the goals or parts of the goals, but these three not only hit the goals, but they also crushed Success Club since January, and they also are in the top 25% of our team for the amount of coaches that they've recruited this year. I just started pulling all these stats, and it was no surprise that in the event of planning and putting together a plan to hit the goals, and that's another reason I was inspired to do this content tonight, that their productivity soared through the roof. And so Heidi and Kira and Dina, I talked in detail in the post that I did about them. Each of them bring totally different things to the table. But I have to say that they represent excellence. They really do. The way that they approach their business, the way that they approach their challengers, the way that they contribute to other members of the team. Again, they're just people that make me want to be better. Everybody on our team makes me want to be better, which is why I think our team is so special, because there's so many of us that keep raising the bar. But there's one seat left for general session. So if you happen to win the May contest and you're going to Summit, not only do you get the book, but you will also get this 4th seat to be up close for, I don't know if it's going to be Shalene or Sean T or Brendan Bouchard. I don't know who that speaker is going to be, because Dina's going to Darren Hardy. But if you win and you're not going to Summit, then the next person will get the ticket. So awesome job, and congratulations to you three. I'm going to skip a lot of this stuff. Emerald to Diamond training is happening now. The next one, you guys, is in July, if there's demand, and hopefully with as many coaches as we've had going through Getting Started Right, there will be. And then the next Getting Started Right training, we moved it to Monday the 8th. Typically, we do it the first Monday of the month. We wanted to push it out a little bit. And then the 160 All Access Challenge Pack is going on at least through the next 2 months, which is super exciting. I'm going to skip Vegan Shakeology. I think we've talked about that enough. And is there anyone on the call from Punta Cana that wants to talk like 1 minute about the workout with Chris? Maybe Heidi, Pam, Dina. I don't know if Kira's on.
I can say, he, it's a great workout. We did it a couple of different days, and there's definitely different aspects to it. I think the first day he went like a little easier on us, and I was like, oh, this is good, but not that intense. And then the next time I did it, I was like, okay, this is, that may be the progression from week 1, through it. It may kind of reflect how that goes, and giving us a taste of the different stages, in which case, if that's how it works, it really will progress well. It'll start off, it's still a workout. I mean, the first one that I did, when I say, this is coming off max 30, that I was like, okay, I can do this. I also had just finished like 65 days of max 30. So I don't know if I would have always been able to. But it'll really, I think that progression is really nice, because it'll offer a challenge to anyone who needs it, but it's not for people who are kind of growing into it. It's not going to smack them in the face too fast. It'll let them kind of work up their confidence and feel like they can achieve it. And that's the other thing about him. He, and again, I don't know what he'll say in his actual videos, but he is really inspiring, and he really, really believes in people digging deep from within them and people's ability to achieve and to do anything that they set their mind to. He talked about how we're all put here for a purpose, and you have to find your purpose. And when you find your purpose, you hang on to it, and that will get you through anything. And it was just, I enjoyed listening to him. He's very much about the team. He kept giving credit to the other people on the stage with him who had helped him create the program. He seems very humble in that way. And he truly, when you think of the fact that we're coaches because we want to change lives, he really wants to change lives. he has that desire within him to help people be fit inside and out. You know, he sees that whole person, and I thought that was great.
Can I jump in for 1 sec, Pam?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything she said, obviously, and then just as for the workout standpoint, I think that, you know, it's agility based. So what I loved about it was just that it's very different than anything Beachbody currently offers. And I think it's also going to really appeal to any former athletes. Like, I felt like it was a double session tryout that I was in. So I thought that was really cool. And I think also for the male audience, I like that setup where I just think it's a, you know, rough, tough kind of setup of a workout and very, you know, muscle based, where you're also, you know, going to work up a sweat. So that's just my
performance line, recovery and recharge, baby.
Oh, I can't wait for that. I'm psyched.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And Alicia just brought on her first selling coach, who's a man, little testosterone in the group. So Jarrett, if you're watching, welcome. Okay, so we're going to get right into this because I want to make sure that we can spend some good time on it. So the 12-week year. If you've not read it, I definitely think you should put it on your list. I was telling Pam Blackwell at Punta Cana that the reason I chose this book is because I'm a really great executor, but I'm not a great planner, right? So I literally will sit down for Zoom calls or I'll sit down for power hours and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And I'm all over the place with absolutely no plan on what I'm going to do. And so I knew probably about, I'd say about 9 months ago that I needed to change this. And Melanie Mitro went over it when I went to the 2-Star Diamond Retreat. She does it her own way. Heidi presented it to us back in January. It was a little bit different, but kind of the same thing. But Melanie Mitro, if you don't know, she's the #1 coach in the network. She's amazing at being able to plan. And there is so much to be said about planning in this business. And if you plan, you will find that you have to work a lot less. So last year in my business, I had been doing this for 2 years, 2.5 years by the end of it. And I will say the amount of hours that I worked last year were crazy. Like, wasn't sleeping, working very late. The schedule was different. I still had all the kids at home. It was crazy. And nobody can keep up that kind of pace, right? But I do think it's important to say that the first 2 years in the business, you do sort of work crazy hours. Every top coach will tell you that they had to give up something kind of nuts, and then you kind of get the ball rolling in your business, and then you get a lot smarter about it, and you do a lot more personal development because you stop pushing it off because it's one of those things that you're like, I'll do it tomorrow. And when you do that, you actually don't work as many hours and you actually work more diligently. So if there's anything that I wish somebody would have helped me with as a brand new coach, it was this. And one of the things that I was asked when I did the What It Takes interview for the Northeast region was, what was the best advice you ever got from a top coach or from any coach? And that was when I set business hours. That was the very beginning of me realizing, okay, I only have 2 hours today broken up in 4 different segments. I've got to get really good about knowing how I'm going to use this time, because that might be all I get, and I got stuff to do. So that's what we're going to talk about. I said at the very beginning of the call, if you came on late, my goal is for you to walk out of this training tonight feeling like when you sit down for your time, and some of you it might be 2 hours a week, and some of you it might be 30 hours a week. When you sit down, you are more productive and feel awesome when you shut that laptop and you walk back to your family, your kids, your job, your boyfriend, whoever it might be. So before you can begin with the 12-week year, you need to have the following. You need to have annual goals so that we can work backwards and convert them into quarterly. And you need to have a detailed vision for your life in all areas. So definitely take notes on this stuff, guys. I did about 3.5 hours of PD in my travel time, and I just inhaled this book. And Heidi, I just love this. I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm out of pages, but I have so many notes, and this was good for me to present tonight because it's really searing it in my brain. So annual goals. I took my annual goals and we all did them as a team in like October, November. We did them early last year, and we put together what our goals were. And so I literally did start off January with my goals until I started reading this book. I finished The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy, another great one to put on your list. And I jumped right into this at the very end of February. And like within 2 chapters, I was like, okay, I need to go and make these into quarterly goals. Here's the mindset. The mindset is that how many times do we say to ourselves, oh my goodness, I want to redecorate my bathroom. I want to reorganize my closet. I want to hit 5-star diamond coach this year. I want to recruit 2 new coaches, and boom, before you know it, it's May and you haven't done diddly squat toward any of those goals. And what happens with an annualized mentality is that we don't have a sense of urgency. And so if you break your goals into quarterly, then what happens is that your week becomes a month, right? 12 weeks, 12 months. So 7 days equals 1 month. So if you're thinking of it that way and you're constantly looking at your goals broken down in quarterly, it sure does put a lot of urgency around them. So you definitely have to have annualized goals. So if you've not done those for your life, for your finances, for your coaching, for your kids, for your parenting, for your job, for your school, for your relationships, do those before you do anything else. And when I say detailed vision, they spent 2 chapters in this book talking about vision. So that's a whole nother Zoom call. But this is, and I wrote down my vision really specifically. I wrote down my vision for my family 3 to 5 years from now, and I wrote down my vision for my family 5 to 7 years from now. How much money do we want to be making? How much do we want to be giving away? What are some things we want to do in our life? I'm looking at Laura right now. She's the only one I can see. I know she wants to do a family mission trip. That's definitely on my 5 to 7 year. Like, write down everything that you want to do in your life. And then you can look at your annual goals and figure out, like, am I tracking, hitting what the vision is for how I want to live my life? For those of you that know me, like, my big thing is giving my husband the option to get off Wall Street. The hours are crazy. He doesn't spend enough time with our kids, in my opinion, and in his opinion. If he could have a job where he could, like, work locally and make half the amount of money and not be stressed about it, that would be a gift that I could give him. So that's like one of my that's like a vision for me for 5 years. So like, how do I do that for my family? How can I use coaching to get me there? So that's what they mean by vision, because you obviously have to have that vision in order to kind of keep pulling it all together. So set quarterly goals that are tangible in the following areas: coaching and work life. Maybe it's just coaching. Maybe it's coaching in your job as a teacher, coaching or your job as a student if you're in nursing school. A couple of those on our team now. Personal, as a parent, as a friend, just your own things that you want to do personally. Financial, your spiritual growth, and your physical. Okay? So again, you might have to go back and look at your annual goals and be like, oh my goodness, I don't really have an annual goal on my own physicality. All right, let's think about how I want to end the year. Okay, like for me, I want to end the year without taking any meds for my autoimmune whatsoever. So what does that mean each quarter that I have to do to avoid that? So that's how you tie in the goals. So you want to set quarterly ones. We are only 4 weeks into the second quarter. So the cool thing is that we still have 7 weeks left. You have more than half of the quarter. So I urge you to do this soon, since we're still very soon into our Q2. So let me give you an example. Okay, so coaching. So I look at my annual goals here, and I went over these with you guys. My coaching goal, and it's a stretch, but I put down 10-star diamonds by the end of this year. So I had to think, if I'm going to be a 10-star, what has to happen each quarter in order to get me there, right? So I need to be 6-star minimum by the end of this quarter. And Stefan has to be 2-star qualifying so he can open a second business center, so I can turn Stefan 2 into a diamond. That would be another diamond. So I had to kind of look at that and work backward, right? Q3, what does that mean? Who are going to be my personally sponsored coaches I help get to diamond? Or do I need to recruit them, right? So if I have to recruit them, that's a whole different ball of wax there. New and improved getting started right training done by June 30th. right? That has to be done for the team. There's just too many new things, and we've got to do it self-paced for coaches since they all come in at different speeds. Help 8 coaches rank advanced to Emerald by June, and I list who they are. Why do I want that? Because I want coaches earning team cycle bonus as quickly as possible. My goal is to get brand new coaches out of Getting Started Right training at a minimum in their first month. I want them to have their Shakeology paid for. I don't want them to feel like they're shelling out all this money in coaching, so that they feel excited and encouraged about that. So who are those Emeralds going to be? And why is that number 8? Well, that's number 8 based on the fact that I know I need to have like 4 more diamonds this year if I want to hit that stretch goal of 10 star. So do you kind of see how I'm working backward with it? Personal, right? We have needed new windows in our home. Like winter time comes and you can't even like sit in the bay window in our kitchen because you're like frostbit because the air seeps through. We have talked about getting new windows for 2 years. It's another annualized thinking. Oh yeah, we're gonna do it this year. Oh yeah, we're gonna do it this year. Spring blows by, summer blows by, all of a sudden it's cold again. I'm like, oh, I guess we'll do it next year. So I got to sign a new contract for windows. Like I've never had more urgency around getting new windows because I'm like, it's got to get done before June 30th. So I got to sign a contract. So I won't go through all of it, but the personal goals are my son needs some social development. I've got to set a play date for him. You know how many play dates he's had this year? 4. Right? Because it's busy. He's always in the car. I have to make him a priority. He needs 1 a week. So you can sort of see how I end up working backward from my goals. And these are just more how I broke things down. Pay 25% off our Turks and Caicos trip, 10 grand. I got to save away for taxes. So I could go through all of these, but my spiritual goals, my fitness goals, right? So I've got them all listed quarterly. So now I've got my annualized goals and I've got my Q2 goals. Okay. So now I've got the goals that are set. Now what do I do? Okay, so what I love about the book is it talks about before I can focus on accomplishing what my quarterly goals are, I've got to look at my calendar. Okay, so I've talked a lot about calendars. I've gone over a lot of trainings and Zoom calls about calendars, but what I love about this book is that it talks about really setting blocks in your week. So a strategic block, you want to have a strategic block, 1 a week. You want to have 2 to 6 buffer blocks a day that are anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, and breakout blocks, which is 1 time a week for 3 hours. Well, let me explain what we mean by those, and we're going to dig and drill into each of them. But a strategic block happens once a week and is 3 hours long. And this is a block of time where you're working on your business, not in it. And we're going to talk about what action items happens in a strategic block. A buffer block, 2 to 6 a day, right? So maybe you're doing like 6 20-minute sessions in between, jobs, at your lunch. Maybe you're waking up super early. Maybe you're putting, in a little buffer block after your husband goes to bed, whatever. And then your breakout blocks, those do not begin until you actually have a system where your 12-week year is working for you, because this is the block where you do something to prevent burnout, right? And a lot of people will put the breakout blocks before anything. And it really needs to be opposite. Your breakout blocks need to come after you've shown discipline and consistency. Okay, so a strategic block is a 3-hour block. Now, some of you guys might be like, well, I have a job. Okay, well, maybe your 3-hour strategic block that happens within the week is broken up into 2 hour-and-a-half blocks. Maybe last year I woke up at 5 a.m. every single Saturday, and I worked from 5 a.m. until 6:30. Stefan promised that he would get up with May, who was waking up at an ungodly hour, and I would get in an hour and a half on Saturday, and I was doing probably not all the right actions under a strategic block, but you've got to get really creative. Maybe you give up TV one night a week. Maybe you give up 45 minutes of sleep. We're going to talk about what you can give up, but the goal is to figure out and make it an annualized thing every single week for every single month in your calendar where you're sticking this block in, and try to get this block in the very beginning of the week. A Sunday, a Monday, so that if something comes up and life happens, you're able to move it. Okay. But these are where you are focusing on like the growth of your business. Okay, you are reviewing your goals. So you've got to be looking at your annualized goals and your quarterly goals. It's like, okay, if my goal is to recruit 6 coaches for the month of May, how many invites does that mean I need to be sending out? Right? And so you're writing out what your plan is going to be. So sending invites is actually part of your strategic block, and it's part of your buffer block, because they fall into the low level stuff, which is buffer blocks, and they also fall into strategic blocks. But I also think it's important to say that an invite would fall in both, because that's so important. You've got to invite to your challenge groups, and you've got to invite to the coaches. So you're writing out your weekly plan. Here's what I need to do. Here's what my week looks like. Here's what I've carved out for blocks. What am I going to do in those blocks? And we'll get to that. Your personal development falls into this. Listening to national wake-up calls. I can't say enough about national wake-up calls. They're like a jolt of positivity, and you get these golden nuggets with everyone you listen to. They are so good. Podcast it so you can just skip right through the announcements and the recognition, and really we're talking about like 22 minutes of your strategic block. Your invites. Plan out your weekly posts. For those of you that know, I'm super, super, super anal about planning my posts. I write down, I don't know if you guys can see, but my posts, it's one thing I do Sunday night, is I at least know what one post is going to be for the whole week ahead, so that I'm able to spend this time crafting them. I plan my weekly posts. I write my weekly posts. I try to do one good post a day, and 80% of the time I've written it way ahead of time. You strategize on future coach placement, right? If your goal is to bring on 6 coaches, and it doesn't matter if they're discount coaches or if they are selling coaches, you should know where your next coaches are going. I can tell you right now my next 5 coaches where they're going, because I tied it back from, if Tracy is going to get to 10-star, but she's got to get to 6-star, but next quarter I've got to get to 8-star. What does that look like? So you want to know where those are going to go. Now, granted, you have 3 coaches quit in one day, like I had this week. Okay, that changes things a little bit. We got to be adjustable. But craft your daily posts. You should have one post a day that hints about what coaching has done to your life, what challenge groups have done to your life, how being a coach has changed your life. Those are the things that I'm spending time crafting. May falls asleep in the car today. That's a 2-second, just quick post. That doesn't fall in any of my blocks. Okay? Plan for your Zoom calls. Plan for your team trainings. Many of you are starting to get to the point where you're really breaking off, which is awesome. Do some training videos on your YouTube channel. One-on-ones with your coaches. Anyone that you've got on your team, you should try to do a one-on-one every 6 to 10 weeks. Talk, get together. It doesn't have to be formal. It can be like sitting down having a cocktail together. It can be like at a coffee shop, hammering it out. It can be at the library. It can be Zoom. But try to do 6 to 10 every 6 to 10 weeks. Plan all of your CTAs for the month. Right? Look at your month ahead. So I've got my May and my June done. April's over, which means I need to be doing July, which is part of my plan. It's going to actually go into the next block, because that's kind of a lower level thing when I'm writing out calendars. So that's really what I'm talking about with strategy, right? Your strategic blocks are 3 hours on having a plan, which is why it's another reason to try to make it at the very beginning of the week, because you are planning out how you're going to use your time for the rest of your buffer blocks. Buffer blocks are live videos, quick engaging motivational posts, getting gifts ready to teams or challengers, checking in with your challenge group as part of a buffer block, sending happy birthday notes in social media, starting new conversations, following up with people who liked your post, following up with inactive coaches. What's happening? Are we keeping our coach account going? Are we going to coach? Are we going to be a retail customer? Checking volume, right? Every Tuesday night, you should be checking your volume so that you're not like, ooh, I dropped rank on Thursday. That should never be a surprise. That's the kind of stuff that happens in your buffer blocks. So that's why if you go back, a buffer block is, it can be 20 minutes, right? It can be your lunch break. It can be 2 30-minute ones. Someone have a question? No, okay. So buffer blocks are just sort of like, they're lower level things. It doesn't mean they're not important. But they're really, if you look at the business activity tracker, a lot of the buffer blocks is stuff that's on here, right? Outsourcing. I feel totally passionate about outsourcing. Again, this is one of those things I wish I would have had a top coach shake me and be like, stop not outsourcing. You have to make an investment in your business at a very early phase if you want it to grow. So if you're not willing to make an investment in your business, I think the first thing you should ask yourself is what's holding you back, right? So, I mean, you could take 1 to 2 hours and find a virtual assistant for $10 an hour, and it's a $20 investment each week. Really not that much money. Here's the kind of things that you should be outsourcing, right? Templates. I just commented Heidi on how cute her templates are. That's a template. Anytime she has somebody who graduates from Getting Started Right, she outsources it. The person puts the picture in. I don't even know how they do it because I've never done one before, right? The person puts the picture in the template and it gets emailed to you, and boom, you've got a pretty post. That just saved you 20 minutes, right? So have templates made for like common things. Emerald coaches, diamond coaches, certificate completion, team builders is the first rank on the leadership ladder, right? CTAs, if you know ahead of time, I'm looking at May and I'm looking up there right now and I know I need 7 CTAs for the month of May. So part of my strategic block would be to come up with 6 pictures that I send out, and I'm like, I want my logo, I want my picture, and this is the name of the challenge group or the freemium that I'm doing. Can you please make these for me? That's it. That just saved me about 3 hours, right? Any customer service request, like I want to bold flash this, you should not be spending time on the phone with coach relations. That kind of stuff is not going to move your business forward. I cannot tell you how many times I sat on the phone or chat changing flavors for challengers. I did that for almost my first 2 years. Crazy town.
Can I pause for a second on that?
Sure.
So I totally guilty of this. I totally do that. I do it for everyone. I even do it for coaches. I take half of their social security number.
Yeah, I did it too.
But the reason why I do it is I know when I first started,
Yeah.
if I had to even deal with it, I would have been out.
Yeah.
I would have been like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Because I am all about, if it's easy, it's done, it's great. I'm so impulsive. And so if it's a beginning, if it's someone like 3 or 4 times, then I send it to them. But if it's someone in the first month, I don't want them to have to deal with it because I know that they're not going to do it because I know who I am.
Right.
So that's where you would outsource. Is that what you're saying?
Totally. I'm in full agreement with you. I would never have somebody call and change their own flavor. I don't think I ever have. I've had those customers that have been like, I did it myself. Like my mom just was like, oh, I just postponed my Shakeology. I'm like, you did? You figured that out?
How to do that, right? Yeah. There's a lot of business women that and not to sit, but I have a lot of people that are like, oh, I just did it myself. And I'm like, oh, all right. Okay. Thanks. Most of my people do not. And they're like, how do I do it? And I'm like, I'll do it. Just tell me what you want.
Yeah. But I'm just telling you, Julia.
I just think it's so funny. I don't think I've ever changed a flavor for anybody. Almost all of my people do it themselves, or they live chat and I say this is how, and it's just an expectation. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've never done it for anybody. Actually, no, like an older woman that was like 65. But other than that,
I literally do it for everyone.
Julia, I did too. I did too. I probably was spending 2 to 3 hours a week on customer service. And
that's where I spend most time. And I'm like, okay, I got it done. And they're like, oh my God, thank you for doing that. Cause I would never have done that. I mean, I've had so many people, one of the guys from high school that was like, I would never have done that. I would have been out. And I'm like, I know. Cause I remember the first time I had to do it. And I was like, this is awful.
I know.
But I was already in it. So that's where you outsource. And then I'm going to let you keep going. But so that's where you outsource. Okay.
Totally outsource it. Yeah. I mean, I quit Rodan and Fields with my first girl because she was like, you have to call and do this and change this. And I was like,
no, I'm not doing any of that. Yeah.
So I mean, just think about that. You get a virtual assistant and you have your list and you Vox, I need this changed and this change. Here's the password. Go into my Team Beachbody account. Go find this person's information. If it's not in there, can you please Facebook message them or email them and get it and take care of it? And they do it. Done.
I mean, I spend so much time like on the pictures, 2 hours. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
This
so
is good.
reporting, newsletters, your if you have post follow-ups. So of course we all have scripts for those things. Thanks so much for liking my post. that kind of stuff. It doesn't need you don't need a personal touch when you're starting the initial conversation. Now, when the script goes out, hey, this is Tracy. I just wanted to say thanks so much for liking my post. It's hard for me to put myself out there sometimes, and I just really want to say thank you for your encouragement. Tell me what you've been up to. Now, as soon as that person responds back, it's all me, right? Because now I'm developing the relationship. But that initial, like, boom, 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 that goes out.
So is Faithfully Fit Tracy logged into your own Facebook account?
Yes.
Okay.
Scary. I mean, it's not scary anymore, but at first I was like, oh my gosh, I just gave all my passwords.
I know. I'm so not there yet.
Yep.
Totally scares me.
Holiday cards to your challengers might be something to think about before you get to like November and you're like, ooh, wow, I've got my own stuff going on. The Holy Grail. So my calendars are all on a Google Drive. My calendars for when my CTAs need to go up, when my freemiums are, when my challenge groups are, what the names of them are. And I keep looking over here because I'm looking at like, what else do I have? And so what I do, my calendars change a lot, right? I just added another challenge group for the month of May. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to start one on Tuesday. And I think we're all going to do the 3-day refresh to kick it off after Memorial Day. Boom. And I Vox, hey Trace, I'm starting a new challenge group. Here's what it's called. It starts on a Tuesday. Yes, you heard me right. It starts on a Tuesday. And I Vox it to her. And she goes in and she updates the calendar, which we call the Holy Grail, in the Google Drive. And then when I have a buffer block, I print it and I replace the old calendar on my board. So my calendar is always up to date. It's color coded. It's totally anal. It's right up my alley. But again, that's something that helps me stay organized. And most importantly, I take that calendar on Sunday night or first thing Monday morning, and I'm like, okay, what are my CTAs this week that I need to have? Oh, great. Let me go into my email folder because the CTA's already been outsourced. The picture should be in my email folder. Let me pull that. I'm going to spend time in my strategic block writing that post. Get it?
Yeah. Can I ask you something? So in the beginning, you said, and I'm not being silly at all. I just need to wrap my head around this because the first word you said, I was like, that's something I learned about Tracy. When I think of you, I think that you literally have every second of your day scheduled. Obviously, days happen.
Yeah.
So, it gets off. But like, I am terrible with time management. I mean, terrible. I start cleaning the dishes. Oh, I need to do work. I go and do 5 minutes. And then I'm like, oh, I got to do this. Oh, the dogs are barking. I'm all over the place all the time. I will get stuff done because then I will sit down and do it. But so do you have like all of this stuff? I mean, like right now, remember how you talked about like, you got to get a space and all that. How far into it did you start making sure you did that?
So it's one thing to have like my business planned, right? I promise you my life is not this anal on my bulletin board, but like I have to know what my challenge groups are and I have to know all that. But I will tell you that the breakout blocks are easy, guys. And I'll answer your question, Juliet. It's on the next slide. But this is like how you avoid burnout, like your family time, you go skiing, you get your lashes and your pedis. I had to throw that in there for this team, right? You get your lashes done, your pedicure done, your leisurely reading, day trips, hikes, going on the beach, taking a long run, whatever. That is a breakout block. And that's like a reward for yourself that should be hands-free, right? Because that avoids the burnout. It does not mean like sitting. I've done many pedicures sitting in the chair, like, inviting. That's not part of breakout blocks. It's like literally going skiing with your family during the winter for 3 hours. And maybe you use your phone on airplane mode to take pictures, but you're not connected. You're like refreshing yourself. I call it my refresh time. So here's my calendar. All right. So first what you do is you take everything that's an obligation. So my kids are all color coordinated, right? So all of my kids have different colors. And then, so like, I know that we have our standard sports, which is the second half of the day. But I do have like every morning, I wake up at 4:15 on Mondays, but every other morning I wake up at 4:45 and on Saturdays I wake up at 5. Like it's a non-negotiable, period. Because I'm getting in that time, like that workout, that plan for my day. It's basically my buffer blocks, right? And then my strategic block always happens on a Monday when May is at school. right? It used to be last year, you guys, I did not have a 3-hour block. I had, and when I first started the year before that, I had 3 kids home. I had a kindergartner and 3 kids home. So I had to sort of change it, and I wasn't this strategic at all when I first started. But when I first started, like when I would work would be like 3 a.m. after I fed the baby until like 5, and then I would work again like after 8 p.m. I just didn't do any daytime. That's just when I had to get it done. So it constantly changes. But once you have like your things that you have to do, then you've got to kind of squeeze in your time. Like I used to watch TV with Stefan. That's what he does when he comes home from work. I do not watch any TV anymore except for Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. I've scheduled for him. If he wants to watch a Jimmy Fallon and have dinner, drink a glass of wine, go into the backyard, whatever, that time is for him, and whatever he wants to do, we do. But I don't watch any TV anymore, right? I don't, there's a lot of things that I don't do anymore because I replace them with buffer blocks, or I replace them with a strategic block, right? I don't do lunch with friends. I don't play tennis. I really can't teach any more than like 2 insanity classes. Juliet and I've talked about that. Like, do we take on more? Do we not take on more? And I'm like, I love it, but I don't know. I have to figure out where I would put those blocks in. So you want to model out your week, right? So you want to make your week so that you've got everything that you have to do. And then you want to block out 15 minutes either on a Sunday night or a Monday, that should say AM, sorry, or a Monday morning to review your last week. Hey, how'd my last week go? Because your week counts as a full month of the year if you're looking at the 12-week year, right? So how did my last week go? What did I do? Do I have any coaches that want to upgrade? Have I sent out enough invites for people that might want to be in the coaching opportunity call? So review your last week and plan for your week ahead. So set 15 minutes. That's why I wake up 4:15 on Mondays, because I need that extra time for planning. 2, start to block out your calendar around your permanent obligations. For some of you, it might be different every single week, right? 2 buffer blocks a day and 1 strategic block, or 2 strategic blocks that are shorter. And then you only set out breakout blocks when you have a discipline around the system. So what I mean by this is, I'm not saying like don't go have family time, right? But I am saying I think it's important that you look in the mirror. And I loved this because if you are really wanting to make this business something that is like tied to your vision, if you don't sacrifice something for what you want, then what you want becomes the sacrifice. Right? So you have to kind of look at your life and be like, all right, is there anything in my life right now that I'm willing to give up to put that time into my coaching business, knowing that the return on investment is probably not going to be for 6 to 12 months down the road. Right? You don't just get little storefronts down in Darien, Connecticut that open up their doors, don't all of a sudden have a flood of people. It takes like 6 months of getting referrals and having advertising and running ads and getting specials and recruiting people into their store. It takes a long time. It's the same thing when you start your coaching business. And so many coaches quit after like 3 months because they're like, yeah, I keep putting posts up and nothing's happening. And I'm like, well, you can't just keep putting posts up. You've got to actually, put in some labor behind those posts, right? So what does that mean for you? What are you willing to sacrifice if you want a goal that's tied to your mission and tied to what you want from a family standpoint? So, yeah.
Did you at any point do, because I mean I don't watch TV. I do nothing of any extracurricular activity, and part of that's based on what, like the age of my people or whatever. But did you do sort of an assessment of where you were? Like I feel like I'm doing all those things, not to the organized level that you've done it, like backed it out, but I feel like I'm hitting all those. But did you do sort of an assessment or were you clear on where you were spending your time already or what you were doing during your time, if that makes sense?
So the first time I ever saw a business activity tracker, and I come from a sales background, I was like, that's the most anal thing ever. I am not filling one of those out. And I saw like the one in Beachbody. And so I never used a business activity tracker. And then I read the book, I think it's one of the Darren Hardy books, but he talks about tracking and how winners are trackers, right? So if someone is training to be a track runner, they're tracking their times. If someone is training to be, whatever, you're tracking, right? You have to track. And I was like, bingo, tracking. I got to do a business activity tracker. So for a month straight, I forced myself to carry a business activity tracker around with me everywhere I went. And Laura, what that did is at the end of the week, I was like, oh, I haven't added any friends to my network, or, oh, I'm not inviting coaches. What the business activity tracker does is it shows your trends. And so now, like, this thing comes with me I'm not just fluff. I really use this thing. And what I do is I flip it up and, like, this is my daily plan for Monday. This is my daily plan for Tuesday. And when we hang up, I'm going to write out my daily plan for tomorrow. So knowing exactly, according to my goals, what are the actions that I need to do in order to fill in my blocks, so that I know when I sit down and I've got, kids pitter-pattering at 5:30 and I've got from 5 to 5:30, like, what am I doing in that 30 minutes? It's like the clock is ticking. What am I going to do? I can't sit down and be like, and you get caught scrolling, Facebook or watching Insta stories, and boom, your time is gone. Like, we don't have that time. You got to be able to sit down and know. So that's what I did. That's what worked for me because it showed me my holes.
And Tracy, that the Power Hour, I just cannot say enough about that. The last two that we've been on, because I am not an organized person. I have a crazy organization. Like, I know when the kids need to be everywhere. I know when every sports sign up is the day of. I am like, people come to me, they're like, when is that? I am on that stuff. But literally, you can't even sit at my dining room table because it's piled high. That's like something I'm going to do. Those Power Hours are so great because it reminds you of stuff. I just had two people be like, you know what? I do know someone about coaching. So I just have to tell you, and I was like, oh my God, this has been my frog. But that made me sit down and be like, that's a great approach. I never thought it that way. And I've asked everyone, it's not that I haven't done that. I've done it. My approach is obviously not working with my people because they're similar to me. And I need to come at a different approach. And your approach today was so great. Just being like, I know it's not for you, but can you think of anyone else?
Yeah.
And I had one person that's a free lead that was like, no, I haven't not thought about it. I'm still thinking about it. So I just texted her and I was like, just to let you know, the new thing, no strings attached, is May 8th. Why don't you just sit on it,
Right. That's awesome. And we'll keep doing it because we've done 2 now, and the feedback on the Power Hours is like mind blowing.
I will be there every time. I learn something every time.
Yeah, that's great. It's just cool to get a bunch of minds together. We had 6 people on the call today, and you get new perspectives, old perspectives, sales backgrounds, non-sales backgrounds. It's just good. I learn something every time too, because, I'm not saying my way is the right way. You got to take a combo of everything. And
totally.
Tracy, was that one recorded? Because I had yet to get on last week. Mine got interrupted, and then no.
I did not record this past one.
But you did the last week, right?
I did the last week. Okay. There was a coach on this call from today who is at work, and if it's going to go on YouTube, even as unlisted, I just don't want to risk it.
I like it. All right.
Totally. You don't want to get in trouble.
Yep.
Yeah. So her situation is very sensitive. That's why I didn't record it. But I did record the first one.
Okay, cool.
And I will record any of them that I feel comfortable recording.
Yeah, of course. Awesome.
Yeah. So that's all I've got. There's actually 4 more slides, but we've already gone over an hour. So we're going to cut. But I hope that you guys got something out of it. And just to say this, it's not like I woke up one day and boom, here it is. This has been from almost 2 years of PD in this area because it's an area I'm not good at, right? So I'm like Juliet, I have piles everywhere. Even though I think I'm an organized person, I had to come to terms with I really am not as organized as I think I am. And I really learned what about the top 10 coaches? And that's not what I want to be, just putting that out there. I don't want to be a top 10 coach, but what are the top 10 coaches doing who come from very unique backgrounds? What is different about them than another coach? And with every single one of them, it's personal development and it's planning. And those were 2 things that even a year ago, I can't say I was good at. They're things I still have to work on. I do have to force myself to do personal development. I really do. It's not, I don't like reading, like listening. I have to really concentrate. I can't really always do it when I'm driving. I have to take notes. I have to see it. So I feel like it's a little bit of more of a struggle for me than like my husband can be like, oh yeah, he can regurgitate what he just read. So, but that can't be an excuse for me either. If I want to get better, I got to do it. And I got to spend time doing PD on the things that I know I need help with, and planning ain't my gig. So it may seem like
you become very efficient. You become very efficient, which is really interesting, because that's the thing that's so important. Like, even if you're not organized, the efficiency is, and that, like, all of this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm taking pieces, and I was like, yes, okay, I need to I need not to do 5 things at once, which I always do. I'm always doing 5 things at once. And it's not now all of a sudden I need to start focusing in.
Yes. Shalene's got a bazillion podcasts out there on not juggling.
Oh.
Or not jumping, jumping like around. That's her word, is like, stop jumping. I'll send it to you, Juliet. There's one that she listened to that I sent to one of my coaches that struggles with the same thing. And she says, she's like, I was going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and I was never getting anything done, and that uses that timer. Like, you just spend 8, just like Tracy did with the Power Hour, spend 8 minutes on this, spend 9 minutes on that. Like, just get it done instead of going, being like, all over the place. I have the same issue. So I have to literally time myself. Otherwise I will do 50 million things at the same time.
Yeah. And you don't have to wait for like a team official Power Hour. You know what I mean? Like, grab a brand new coach, or just just do a box and be like, who's free for a Power Hour? And we'll keep doing them at different times, because the time change and everyone's schedule. But I agree. Like, I get more done when I'm with I'm with you guys, because that competitive piece comes. I'm like, I don't want to be like 3 invites when you guys are at like 9.
Totally. And in the beginning, when I first started there, I had such a plan, because I had the inventory, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, I need to change my thoughts, and I need to change everything now. And so then it just got like more sparse, even though I was doing it, and I'm still getting it done. But it's like, this Power, I got Success Club 18 again. Like, I haven't done that in a little while. And it was like, okay, I need to focus in. This is really easy. I can totally do this.
Yeah. And like we talked about on the Power Hour, how many times we're all like, oh yeah, our warm market's dry. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. We just have to be more strategic.
Totally.
Yes. Okay. All right, you guys, we're going to wrap it up. I will put this recording in, and I will also put the actual PowerPoint in case you want to go back and look at any slides.
Thank you.
All right. All right,
This is
guys.
amazing.
Congrats,
Thank you.
everybody. Such a fun month. Okay, guys. See you later.
Night.
Thanks for joining. Bye, guys.